Chilean architect and installation artist Alfredo Jaar joins a long-standing legacy of Latin American artists whose artwork carries a strong and clear political message. Jaar's work is global and focuses on various social and political issues that plague our modern world, some of which include the imbalance of power between developed nations and developing nations, political corruption, and military conflicts. Through an analysis of some of his most important installations, I hope to show the continuing of this legacy of political art, paralleling the works of Jacobo Borges and Cildo Morales. First, I'd like to give a brief biography on Alfredo Jaar to give insight into his refined and deliberate artistic vision. He was born in Santiago, Chile in 1956 and attended the Instituto Chileno Norteamericano de Cultura, Santiago, and the Universidad de Chile in Santiago. He left Chile in 1981 at the height of Pinochet's dictatorship, soon after obtaining his architecture degree. He settled in New York in 1982 and resides there to this day. It is perhaps his experience living in Pinochet's oppressive military dictatorship that sparked his interest and lifelong passion to convey social and political issues through his art, which he could freely do once outside of Chile. Jaar considers himself a site-specific artist, influenced heavily by events around him. Quote, "I always describe myself as a project artist. I'm not a studio artist. I do not create works in my studio. I wouldn't know what to do. I do not stare at the blank page of paper and start inventing a world coming from my imagination. Every work is a response to a real-life event, a real-life situation." Unquote. The first of these real-life situations was the 1 million Finnish passports installation of 1995. It was held at Kiasma, the Museum of Contemporary Art in Helsinki, Finland, as a social and political commentary on Finland's extremely strict immigration policy, which accepts a fraction of the amount of citizenship applications the government receives as compared to their neighbors. The 1 million passports, stacked one on top of another in an 800 by 800 by 80 centimeter configuration, represents the immigrants that were denied Finnish citizenship. Only about 4% of Finland's 5.5 million people are immigrants, a sad reflection of the Finnish government's stringent immigration policies. The passports were housed behind bulletproof glass, since its high volume posed a security risk, and once the exhibition was ended, the passports were burned. Jaar's purpose of this installation was to show that, quote, "space is not just physical, it is also social, cultural, political. Studying the space, I tried to reach what we call the essence of the space. Then I combine that with the essence of what I'm trying to say. All these elements are incorporated in the program in which I have an objective," end quote. The essence of the space, in this case, was the validity of identity tied to the passports. Immigrants seeking a new home, a new place, gain such validity from becoming citizens. Jaar creates a space where the possibility of citizenship can be seen, in this case through the bulletproof glass, but can't be touched, and repurposes material that is government property to do so. This idea is paralleled in Cildo Morales' Insertions into Ideological Circuits 2 banknote project of 1970. In this work, Morales uses currency and devalues it by stamping it with phrases such as, "Who killed Herzog?" referencing the murder of the journalist Herzog, who died in police custody. Morales subverts the control of the government over these bills by marking them with his own political leanings, freeing them from traditional associations to the government. In Jaar's 1 million Finnish passports, the passports are representations of free social and political circulation and interaction afforded by Finnish citizens. But in this case, these notions are withheld from immigrants. Without Finnish citizenship, they cannot move freely within and outside the Finnish borders and cannot participate in any social or political space. May 1, 2011 is another politically driven installation by Alfredo Jaar. May 1st, 2011 was an incredibly significant day in the war against terrorism. It was the day that Osama bin Laden was found and killed by a covert Navy SEALs operation. The installation, May 1, 2011, is comprised of 4 components. In essence, Jaar presents a scene within a scene. At the center of the installation is a photograph of the Situation Room, where President Obama sits among Vice President Joe Biden, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, and many of their advisors as they watch the capture and execution of bin Laden unfold. The public, however, is not privy to seeing these events. Jaar depicts this unknown by placing a blank lit screen invoking a television screen where the live events are taking place hidden to the viewer, to the right of the photograph, and another blank screen next to the lit one in which the viewer can imagine and project what the president and his advisors are seeing. This aspect of covert operations occurring right under the nose of the public is present in Jacopo Borges' Nymphenburg, where he shows that real power is also hidden from the public. Borges' Nymphenburg is also a scene within a scene. The viewer is given access to the burned-out room in which 3 figures are engaged in somewhat nefarious behavior. This scorched room references the suspected CIA-assisted bombing of Chile's presidential palace in 1973. President Allende was either assassinated with the CIA's help or committed suicide, though that was never confirmed. Borges illuminates the invisibility of political power, having the viewer stumble upon a scene that should not be witnessed. This sentiment is evident in Jaar's May 1, 2011. While the participating members of this historical event are identified in a panel to the left of the photograph, the target and the violence associated with this event is not made to the public. With no images readily available to correlate the cost and damage of capturing bin Laden, there was no way to assess the true political reach of the U.S. government. In conclusion, Alfredo Jaar's installations continue the legacy of political art in Latin America, paralleling works by Silvio Morelos and Jacopo Borges. While he is Chilean, his art expresses political and social issues prevalent around the globe. In 2006, Jaar installed Infinite Cell, a series of jail cells, as a meditation on the horrors of the 21st century in his own native Chile, 25 years after leaving for New York. I end with Jaar's contribution to the Venice Biennale of 2013, the piece that intrigued me, Venezia, Venezia. Jaar's reimagining of the Giardini and its outdated pavilions, rising out of the water like a ghost.